Welcome to Let's Get Writing. I'm your host, Catherine Taylor. This is season 4. I can hardly believe it. Let's Get Writing is all about the writing process from creation to publication. Here is where you can find inspiration, ideas, and meet the people behind the stories. We bring life to books and so much more. We're available each week on my Facebook page where I go live, and also shows are hosted on my YouTube channel at Catherine Taylor TV. And if you like your content on the go, why, your favorite podcast platform will also have Let's Get Writing. And please share and like the shows, because that's a wonderful form of support for our authors and for Let's Get Writing. Now, on to the good part. My guests today are the talented team behind a beautiful collection of treasured recipes, tales, and experiences that celebrate Newfoundland's unique culture and heritage. And if you haven't figured it out yet, we are in Newfoundland, and that's where I'm broadcasting from. Now, this book, yes, it's a cookbook, but it's so much more. It will take you on a 1-year food journey that explores the wild foods of Newfoundland, the land it comes from, and it also encourages everyone to put more traditional foods back on their plates. Now, I'd like you to meet Chef Lori McCarthy and photographer Marsha Tulk, and they're going to join me here now on Let's Get Writing, and let's get going. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Good. Hi.
It's a windy day here on the island. You're on the East Coast. I'm in Central, and but we've battened down the hatches, and here we are.
We got the fire in, so it's all that matters.
It's all that matters. Look, I have to say, I so enjoyed looking at your book, and it excited me about our province and about all that we have that sometimes I think I forget to appreciate. But I want to say, you ladies really get around. And I mean that in the best possible way. I want you to tell me a little bit about that journey of writing this cookbook and all the things you did to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start on that one. When I started my business, and it was 10 years ago now, I think it was, the purpose behind doing that was to really capture Newfoundland, its people, its stories, its food, just to celebrate it, right? And it was for travelers that were coming here. And then I realized that there was a lot of local people here that also wanted to go out and have these experiences. And I started talking to people, started with my grandparents, actually, just sit down with them and to question them with with just intention of, because I'm very close to my family, luckily. And I just wanted to sit down and ask them real questions about what was it like? What did you eat? And all the traditions around food and seasonal eating. And that's how it started. And then every time I would travel around the province, I would, either invite myself into someone's house or for a cup of tea, or there was, a scattered beer that was had out in the shed with a fella plucking turs too. Right. And so it was really that made this come together. Right. And collecting all this, just this richness of here. I mean, it absolutely deepened my appreciation for here. And I was approached to write a book several times, and entrepreneur, 2 small kids, busy life, hot towns. I was like, are you kidding? I don't have time to write a book. But what's one of those things that came out of COVID? Many times we talk about some of the good things that came out of it. And so this book actually was born during that time. And it gave me the opportunity. And then I needed someone to make that happen with.
And that would be your sidekick, Marsha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's a beautiful food journey, really, is I think how I would describe it. And I think you describe it that way as well. And the photography and the stories, it just really brought a lot of memories to me, and actually a desire to try some of the foods in different ways. And I think that to write a book like that, how did you approach it?
I think, well, we specifically said we are going to take 12 months. And Lori came up with the idea originally to break it down into not so much seasons, calendar seasons, but more availability seasons. So in April, May, June, things are starting to come alive and things are growing, and we've decided to start there, and we would work through those 3 months. And when the 3 months were up, that was it. We were finished with that section, and then we'd move on to the next section, and we just did the whole 12 months like it is in the book.
Yeah, so it was really, picking and eating and harvesting and fishing, and everything that, every recipe that we wanted to make happen had to happen in those months.
Yeah.
And I think that's so critical to food and eating here, because that's how it is, right? And once you get it, there's no opportunity to get it again. It's,
you have to wait.
Mushroom season, yeah, or it's like herring season and mackerel, and you want it, then you have to figure out what you're going to do with it to sort of extend it, like we eat here anyway, throughout the year, so that you can have that piece of herring in on the fire with you, and when you go ice fishing in February. And so that was really fun.
And I've done that.
Of course you have.
Of course I have. I'm a Newfoundlander. But it was a very wonderful way to do it. And as I worked through the book, and I thought, yeah, seasonally, our berry seasons and our seasons where people are hunting and the moose and so on. And I thought, what a great way to approach it, because otherwise it would just almost be overwhelming. How would you approach all the wonderful things we can harvest here? And I think at times we forget that, but there's images of it everywhere as you travel the highways and see cars parked, or one particular thing that I really liked, but we'll get to that after we look at some photographs. There are certain scenes that you can see, shall I say, that are also very interesting, and we'll have a look at that. Certainly stunning photography throughout the book, glimpses into pantries and scenes from the old days. How did where did all that come from? How did you dig it up and take it? And
well, it really started, it was a great platform for me to use some of the old photographs that I had from my grandfather, my father's father. He had a dark room in his house, in his family home. It's about 110-year-old family home. And as a kid, I would go up into the dark room, which I just thought was a room without a window when I was small. But I did find out later on that it was an actual dark room that he would develop film and process photographs. And I have all of his equipment and his photographs. So it was a great opportunity to take them and put them into the light again, because they're absolutely beautiful, I thought. And I used them in university, and this was a great chance to put them out there. And Lori's family had a collection of old photographs, so I digitized them and touched them up, and they're in the book. And it was just a great collaboration to put traditional and contemporary pictures together and really show that our traditions have lived on, even despite the years going by.
Yeah, I love that. I love that we have the old photos, and then there's pictures of Marsha and I when we were younger, with our children when they were younger. And then there's photos of food, and it's a really nice way to, I don't know. It's, of course, it's so close to our heart, because it's so filled with our family and our friends and people that our food journey began with, right? My mother's there and making T-buns, and like T-buns, it's a T-bun in Newfoundland, you can't go anywhere not, So, it's a mix of that and photos of that are just really close to us, right? And just an opportunity to put to light those people who have got us to where we are,
But the pictures are personal to us, but they're so approachable to so many people.
I think they're in photo albums of people all over the province, or in boxes somewhere, because when you see one thing that you mentioned, you see the families mingling and the kids sitting there with their parents and all ages of people having a picnic just out by the side of the river. I can picture those. Absolutely. I have pictures of my parents doing things like that we don't often see enough anymore, I think.
It's a really beautiful moment for us when we, lay the book in someone's hands and they they get no further than the first couple of pages, and like it's a dead stop. And it's like, then there's a story that starts. It's like, oh, I remember this, and we remember, and we did this, and that's what makes it. Like, that's what makes it for us, is that this is exactly what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to sit around with the book and people and look at these photos, and it's supposed to take you to a place in your life. And when it does, the Newfoundland storyteller comes out in everyone. And it's beautiful. It's a very nice moment to see, actually.
It would take about a month to get through the whole book.
Yeah.
It could. And you said, I think there were over 35,000 photographs that you were going through or something. Did I not read that somewhere?
Yeah, the old photographs, I have a collection of about 600. And then my own personal photographs. And then the pictures we took purposely for the book. So yeah, it was a lot of pictures.
So what's the secret to a great food photograph? I mean, you had to make meals, and you had to decide how you were going to take these pictures. You got any tips to share with anyone?
Don't take pictures in bright light. And action pictures. We purposely wanted to put action pictures in it, like in the moment. A lot of pictures we went somewhere with nothing, and we purposely put things together on the fly to see what it would look like, and it turned out really well. There's a picture of a beach salad. We foraged for beach greens, and that's in the beginning of the book. And that was completely, other than you bringing in a bit of oil.
Yeah.
That was it.
So it was a very creative process, like to carve out, I should say, that time and that space to just go and be creative. And as, you know, people who create and develop and artistic, and Marsha, you know, and I, it's so important to the process to give yourself that time to do it, because oftentimes some of the best moments and best photographs come out of that time together, you know, let's just go see what we can make happen like that, with no boundaries and no restrictions. It's,
and make mistakes. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just a picture. You can take another one, which I've done a lot.
There's no doubt. It's delightful. And I love the comment in your introduction. What is the first, okay, everyone, this is a quiz. What is the first question of the day in Newfoundland? And if you did not say, what are we taking out for supper?
Right?
I'm not from Newfoundland. And I thought, that's so true.
Yeah, but it speaks to us and our culture and the book exactly, right? Like, so many times in the book where the food was taken, you know, we photographed the food, harvested it when it was the season. So for rabbit season, rabbits were taken. And then it was, what do we do with the rabbits? Well, we make something fresh with it, but then we also bottle the rabbits. And then later in the book, in January, February, you'll see a recipe for bottled rabbit, right? And that's when the bottled rabbit comes out, and it's made with fresh pasta, and it turns into something else. And so, yeah, what you're taking out, or, you know, whether you're going to the pantry to get a bottle of moose or a bottle of rabbit, or
the freezer,
it's always like, what are you taking out for supper? It's so true.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't own 2 or 3 freezers, I mean, you're
so true.
What are you going to do with it all? And it's just amazing. And we are a lot about food, and I think a lot about how we source it, and which brings me back to the recipes, because you've taken, and I want to say that there's some very fancy names on things, and I did write them down, and now of course I have so many things here, but I saw one moose tongue as raisin sauce. That's not a fancy name, but it's certainly an interesting dish.
The rabbit roulade was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
We keep joking when we were making it. We're like, I don't think anyone's ever going to make this. So that's my challenge to all the viewers. If somebody ever makes that, we would love to have a picture of it.
We want pictures.
Oh, I think they'll make it, because the recipes are not complicated, and the photographs are very, very intriguing. I mean, I know there are some in there I'm definitely going to make, but I don't know if I'll ever do the moose tongue.
But when you speak to the recipes, like we spoke about, the recipes they really are a mix of old and new, and the overall purpose of even, the work I do and why I do what I do is to keep it on our plates, right? Mm-hmm. And because the idea that some of that will get lost is just kind of heartbreaking to me and to us, and that's, I think, what motivates us to do the work we do and to write the book. And we can all get really caught up in the traditional way that something has to be done, right? And you talk to someone about cooking turs or cooking, whatever it is, this is how it's got to be done.
The Jake's dinner.
Right. Yeah. And I love that we're so traditional like that. And that is our culture and this cultural food. But I think that we have to remember that culture changes, right? And that evolution. Okay. Yeah. And it's about that evolution of culture. Because I think that if we don't continue to change the food just a little bit, that the fear is that the next generation won't eat it, right? So I tell people all the time, it's okay to change it and you can do curry with mousse, or you can do, it's okay.
I had that yesterday.
I did have it yesterday. I was like, it doesn't. Like a bottle of curry paste and a bottle of mousse, and you've got supper in like 10 minutes.
What's not to love?
But right, and so it's okay to change it and evolve it, and that was a lot of the fun in this. Is that how far can we take a moose tongue and make it beautiful, right? And it was even if you don't make it.
Well, I not to scorn that, because I wouldn't eat cod tongues when I moved home, and now I think they are quite nice.
Yeah. It might convert you.
Right? You just don't know. Never say never. Yeah. I noticed that you talked a lot about when there was a yeast, well, not a lot about, but you mentioned the yeast shortage, and that you have found ways to get yeast from nature, and you even name your different what do you call them?
Mothers.
Cultures, or your mothers, yeah. Like I noticed you had Hilda Maxine and Margaret, and so wild yeast. That was pretty.
Yeah. Well, that I've probably been making wild yeast, I guess, for 5 or 6 years now. And then, of course, when the COVID came in and there was this yeast shortage in Newfoundland, and mom calls and it's like, everyone's making bread now. She can't get any yeast. She's beside herself. And I was like, sure, I got the fridges full of yeast. And harvesting wild yeast is easy. There's wild yeast on everything that's outside. You could make wild yeast on birch bark, literally, right? Usually I'll use juniper berries, black currants, lots of really nice berries like that, whole yeast really well. And you're just feeding it, and you'll always have a piece, like that bread that you make with it, or those pancakes that you make with it. That's a pretty unique yeast. It's not like any other yeast anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a little bit of the high of it.
Well, I have a friend who has the same thing, and this is called Michael, her thing that she feeds, and he makes sourdough bread all the time for her.
Right. So, it's like today's feed the bread mothers, tomorrow the vinegars need to be fed, and the kombucha needs to be fed, and
exactly.
Open up my cupboard and it's full of like blobs and fermenting stuff. And now I'm obsessed with koji. And there's like so many, like you open the liquor cabinet where, Dad would go to get a drink at 4 o'clock because it's Newfoundland. And you open it up and there's like rice fermenting and soybeans fermenting now because I'm making miso. And that is about, again, pushing the limits of the food here, and how do we grow it and change it and make it better and beautiful, right?
Well, not better, just different.
Just different, yeah.
Right. Yeah, but it's alive. It's food that's alive. And I think, kids have been grown up to think that food comes from a grocery store. And when you go back to source, they're like, ew, I'm not eating that. But that's what food is. And to be able to put things on our plate that is so close to, being on the hoof to the plate with what that brings, it's pretty nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon for, Marsha's kids and my kids to come home and see us butcher rabbits or a side of pork or lambs and and grinding moose and butchering moose. And so
it's kind of crazy. We get really excited. Lori called me up one day and she said, I have someone dropping off a bear. You want to come over? And I'm like, yes.
So that's what we're doing Friday night. We're having
you too. Well, not to be outdone, I got my salmon waders this year, and because I went salmon fishing without the proper gear. So I said, this is not going to work if I'm going to do this. And then I also got my gun license. So
for you,
I'm slowly moving in different directions.
Yeah, and it's
empowering.
It is empowering, and it's certainly a surge of it now, especially women and young people. And the boys went ahead and got the age reduced for youth to be able to hunt. And this is the stuff that if we don't pay attention to it, then we can't make policy change or have any interest in it, then it will be gone.
It will be gone.
Right. And so it is really important. And like I remember telling Mom I was going to teach with the company, I was going to teach a wild game butchery. And Mom is like, oh, sweetie, no one's going to do that. But you know what? The age that of people that came were from like 25 to 55.
Well, that's where we met.
And that's how we met, right?
Oh my. And you have moments of humor in your book, and one of them that really stayed with me was, to quote you, Lori, you said, I feel for anyone trying to sell Mom last year's seal flipper. So if you're on the mainland, you probably don't even understand this. They're like, what are they talking about? But to a Newfoundlander, like your mother,
you find a Newfoundlander and you ask them. There's lots of them in Ontario and Alberta and all across. So
I thought things like that were so interesting. But when we talked about food, and you said it's important to hold on to these traditions, and I think we are seeing it. Places like Fogo Island Inn or different restaurants have embraced our culture and brought new tastes and ways of cooking it. To me, it's really exciting. We should have been doing this a long time ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of great people making waves in food in Newfoundland, Labrador right now, and it's so nice to see.
I just saw an Instagram post the other day of a chef in Ontario making something out of a moose nose. So,
yeah. Right. And so it's, that whole nose to tail, right? There's such talented cooks and chefs across that are really embracing it. And now the Indigenous food is making a rise, and we're putting those people and those food on the stage, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I noticed an endorsement at the front of your book from Tim Charles, who's up at Fogo Island Inn. And I just have to say, he and his wife, and at the time daughter Alice, they now have Clara as well, but they were in my kitchen, and he showed me how to cut up a chicken, and he made an omelet the next morning with crab, Newfoundland crab, and something spinach maybe, I'm not sure, but it was such a treat. And I could tell from sort of his love of food in Newfoundland, it's just great to have people like you and people like Jim that are doing this. And we've been talking so much about food, I'm hoping everyone's mouth is watering, but I want to show a few things in the stream, and let's see how this is going to go. I think it's probably as good as I can do that there. So this is the cover of your book, and you guys feel free to just jump in about these photos. Scrumptious.
Oh yeah, those are that's Nan's gingerbread. We did an event out on the West Coast in Gross Mourne for 12 people, and we made everyone little gingerbreads, and Marsha had rosehip syrup, and we finished it with rosehip syrup.
Oh, nice. You had a recipe in there for rose sugar, which I thought was so cool. This is you guys out there on your travels.
It is. The trip, That's the trip to Gross Mourne. Yeah,
I want to go back.
Oh yeah, and here you are out by the outhouse.
It is. That was a great day. We drove like way down
2
past.
hours.
We went in search of this old abandoned kitchen that Marsha took some photos of years ago. We wanted to recreate it. Anyway, we get down there, it's like sideways rain and fog. Now that landscape down there is spectacular. Yeah. And we were soaked that day, and we just laughed all day. And Jonathan Randall Smith, another amazing photographer here in Newfoundland, he was such a trooper that day. Anyway, it was a great day. Yeah. And that's us laughing.
I've got to there's so many nice ones. This one here, this photograph, I actually stole that one from your book myself this morning, because look at the serving utensils there, like the carving knife and the bone handles, and then behind the rock and the snow, and the scallop. That is just so beautiful. I love the way you guys put that together.
Well, that's Marsha's doing.
That's another on-the-fly photograph.
How is it?
Yeah.
Beautifully done. And to anyone who's never eaten a scallop fresh out of the sea, you got to try it. I've actually done that thanks to and this is where the humor just all hands arse up. Okay, if you're from Newfoundland, you know what that means, right?
And you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I tell the story in the book, but when I have guests out either weren't from here in the fall of the year, they would say, what are all the people on the side of the road? Like, what are they doing? And I would say, of course, what do you mean? All hands arse up. Well, it's berry picking season. And, so it always and this is my mom and my Aunt Barb, who are beyond characters. And this is like what you get when you go in the woods with Mom and Aunt Barb for the day berry picking, right? Because
I'm sure they appreciate that photo of them on the show like that. And just look at the colors here on the left. Look at that, the rocks and the fish.
I love that one.
Yeah, that's a favorite.
We keep talking about pulling, 10 shots out and getting prints done, because so many people have asked us for prints of the photos, and we thought it'd be a nice touch.
Well, definitely. And there's a few more I can maybe squeeze in here. This is kind of a smorgasbord of shots, just to give people an idea of where you've been and what you've done and what you've integrated. Looks like a lot of fun there.
Yeah. We decided there were so many pictures we didn't want to leave out. So we decided to do collages on the insides of the covers.
Yeah, amazing. So beautiful. Look at those muscles. Well, ladies, we could talk forever, and I certainly would enjoy doing that with you. And I think we are going to do a little more on Instagram. But I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about this. And I think for what you've done for our food culture and place, really. I think there were so many people that will enjoy this book. Any final words for the chefs that attempt some of your recipes?
Well, yeah, we'd love to be tagged on your photos on Instagram. Marsha's at Food of Generations, and I'm at Food Culture Place. So we would love to have, we would love to see what you're doing. Like, an article just came out in the National Post making with Nan's gingerbread, and people from around the world started sending me photos of my grandmother's gingerbread recipe, and that's what makes it.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much. And folks, thank you so much for joining us. I hope we've tempted your palate today. Have a great week.